We're just getting all professional, like 3 episodes in.
You
Everyone's
guys,
headsets are working.
the game. Did you watch the game? We were watching the game, right?
Yes. Yes. What game or which sport are we talking about?
Which game?
Mhm.
The Fever. I'm just gonna keep filling that up. There we go. The
Yeah.
Fever and the Chicago Sky. And just quick, Underwood, you guys.
Good.
This is it's
Tina?
from Oregon, $14.99. It's a really great everyday Pinot for the price. And this isn't a sponsor. I just love it. And it also comes in cans.
Ooh,
Cheers,
can.
Yes.
everybody.
Cheers.
Tracy, what are you drinking?
You know, my typical
Your rosé?
Thursday. Yeah, I got my Whispering Pines, I think. I don't remember. I rotate.
Whispering Pines?
I rotate a few.
Those are be.
Alex, you spent the day with your niece and nephew, which I'm sure was lovely, but do you have an adult beverage today?
I do not have an adult. It's 105 degrees here in New York, so I'm more hydrating on like water and some sand.
I mean,
lovely
it's
San
like
Pellegrino.
99 in Arlington, Virginia, but I haven't been running around kids all day.
Yeah, we didn't stay
So-
outside too long because that's just not good for them. But it was
Yeah.
still, they're awesome. They're almost
I
6
know.
and 3
They're
years
the
old.
best. They're the
And
best.
I'm very blessed. I'm a proud auntie.
Yay. And speaking of bebes, Tracy, how's your little
Mhm.
baby boy?
My baby boy is crawling now, so
Oh, no.
Mobility. Oh man, get those gates up.
level gates and outlet protectors
Mhm.
and cabinet locks. Like, oh my gosh. Insane.
That's awesome.
Both my niece and my nephew are like, because the apartment I moved into a gazillion years ago had those like clips that lock the doors. And so when they would see them unlocked, they were like, Auntie, these aren't locked. And they would lock them for me.
Oh my god, those are such good shit.
And I was like, okay, sure, guys. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, not here.
I didn't have the one that was like opening up and pulling all like the stuff out of the cabinet and all that stuff. They're like,
Oh my
Auntie,
gosh.
it's not
Auntie.
locked. Like,
That
I'm
sounds
on it,
like
guys.
that sounds like an AB type of thing
Yeah.
to say.
for sure,
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure.
But and then Nora follows Abe, so she's like, Auntie. Like,
Yeah, Yeah,
I know,
right
guys.
behind him, right? You're like, oh my
I
god.
appreciate it. I'm just trying to get the Lysol. Thank you.
You guys, like 3 days ago when we were gonna do this on Thursday, I had like a 2-page Google Doc. I had us talking about Rookie of the Year. I had us talking about all sorts of things. But we all just watched a great game between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago
Mhm.
Sky in Chicago. I think the score was it 88-87 Chicago, which
Mhm.
is one of the higher scores I've seen for both teams to be in the 80s. I don't see that very often. Stands were packed. Jason
Mhm.
Sudeikis, Chance the Rapper, I mean,
Mhm.
among other people, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah.
Chicago came out with the win. Tracy and I were texting a lot during the game,
Yes.
and I know
Caught up on
Alex
that.
came back to like 150 text messages, but
Like something must have happened.
yeah, I think that the one play that Tracy and I would probably say we talked about the most between our flurry was in the last 3 minutes, I guess, when the pass
Mhm.
went to Alyssa, and we were both like, no, because that's not
Mhm.
been a good matchup. She's not been in a good
Mhm.
matchup all day with
Mhm. Reese.
with Reese.
Yeah.
And it did not work out. And
Mhm.
doesn't mean it wouldn't have, but we were both kind of like, and even the announcers also were in agreement
Yeah.
with Tracy and I that that probably was not
Well,
the
when
best
Rebecca
play.
Lobo was like, "What are you doing?" Like you got
Exactly. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And Rebecca Lobo also called out Doris's stank face.
I'm
I
just like,
mean,
I'm sure it was from a place of honor. Like we all have, like
yes,
you know.
but she's like, is that a stank face?
She
But
said,
Ryan Rucco was like, I think that's her. I got to concentrate face. And Twitter's like, nah, man, that's a stank face.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was. I'm still kind of buzzing over it. You know me, I'm the casual of this group. I've never watched a women's basketball game that was as exciting as that, and that even counts the college games, just because of how both teams play today. And the physicality between the two teams compared to the first time these two teams met, where the Fever team they weren't gelling, and everyone felt like Caitlin Clark, wasn't really being supported, and how she was just kind of getting manhandled. Well, this game kind of felt like when a pitcher on one team beans the other player, and you just know the next time you play, you're going to get hit. You just wait for it, and it's going to happen. And I feel like that kind of happened today.
It's
Not
really
that anyone got
hard.
hit, but it felt a little more passionate. Like, this is our team. We are more cohesive now, and we're not going to get pushed around. That's kind of what I felt like.
It's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. I mean, that is really difficult to do. And the third time being at their place. So, going into this game, I felt it could go either way, but I felt like Chicago was going to have a little bit more of an edge just because it's so hard for Indiana to come away with 3 wins against them. They're a solid team.
What do you think happened in that fourth quarter? I mean, they went on a 23-3 run or 18-3, something like that.
I think Indiana they started to play not to lose as opposed to playing to win. And they were up by 14 or 15 points at one point. Yeah. And they just kind of started to let the gas off the pedal. Angel Reese went on a tear. And I tell you what, I've never been a huge Angel Reese fan. I'm not a huge fan of her game, but she had legitimately her breakout game today. Because she led that team to win with points, with rebounds, with emotion. She was talking trash with Nalissa Smith, and she got the best of her. Nalissa tried to do the too short thing. I was like, no, honey.
Immediately followed up by a Angel Reese bucket. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also think, to your point, and Trace, we talked about this on one of the earlier podcasts. Like, the beginning of the W and the beginning of the season is always frustrating because the teams don't have cohesion. Chemistry takes some time to build. They're coming coming from overseas or being traded, or injuries happen and folks are coming in. And so we're more than 10 games into the season, and you're kind of seeing that cohesion, especially with Indiana. I mean, they were actually winning some games, and I think they had their longest winning streak before this loss in the franchise history. I think since 2015, I think was the last time they had this long of winning streaks. I did catch it, like, with Colleen, be like, is this a new rivalry? And Angel's like, I don't know, we're just here to play ball. Like, I just,
for my
teammates, we're competitive, and we're, not playing into it. And I will say the one thing that's the most consistent about this season that we've talked about consistently is the terrible officiating.
Oh my God.
Consistent across the board. Like,
some
no
of these
matter
fouls,
what, you know it's going to happen. And just even the end of that game, I was like, it's over. Like, what is this? Like, can you imagine if Indiana had made that, like, Hail Mary of a shot, and made that bucket and had won that game? Just how devastating that would have been. It didn't happen, but just like because of the end of the game, be like, oh wait, like, we gotta, there's 0.5 seconds, so there's 0.2 seconds, and poor Mabry missing those free throws. I'm like, girl.
Yeah, Twitter's alive with comments about that, no doubt.
Like, it was interesting. Okay? Like, your leg's just tired. Like, what happened?
Maybe
that was horrible.
When you have an emotional game, that kind of game is emotional, right? Like, it's everyone played so hard. And it was funny because Monica McNutt posted after the game, now I got to get ready to go into work tomorrow and, try to keep it talking about ball instead of everything else. Yeah. And I commented, it's a rivalry, because in the pregame, they were talking to Caitlin Clark while she was warming up, and they asked her about it. And of course, she's like, oh, of course you're going to ask me about that.
Yeah.
So I wrote, oh, it's a rivalry with McNutt's comment after the game. And someone said, is it the fans? Is it the game? Is it the players? And I said, and this is what I believe, that it's all three. It's definitely the fans. And now you can tell it's definitely the teams. Caitlin and Angel, I'm sure they still each want to badly win, but I don't think it's what we maybe thought it was at the beginning. To me, now it feels more like the way the teams are really starting to gel, and everyone's sort of just feeling that bond a little more than what I saw earlier in the season. So to me, it's definitely the fans. It's definitely the teams. The players, I'm not going to say they're not, because I don't believe that. They're too competitive, but it's definitely more on the fans and the teams and the media. The media kept saying, we're the ones creating this. There's no rivalry, but they were asking that question since pregame. Yeah.
It can be new. I mean, it can be a new rivalry. And, we don't really, when you think about the W, I don't know about you, but I don't really feel like there are a lot of, like, there used to be, like, Seattle and Phoenix back in the day, but it's been a while, I think, in the league where you're like, ooh, this is, now like last year was the super teams with New York and Vegas. And I think that's still there. But I think maybe you had like Minnesota, like when Maya Moore was playing, it's been a minute since like there's not consistent rivalries in the W, and it's a small league and there's only 12 teams. Great, like bring a rivalry. I'd love for like it's the Midwest team, it's the Midwest region, like
exactly.
It's not Dallas, like let it be Chicago and Indiana, like smaller markets, and it's great for the game, and I'm all for it, and it gets more people tuning in. And I will say I'm curious about like the 45-minute conversation the coaches had at the end of the game. At the end of the game with Teaspoon.
Like,
I was like,
I know what was going on.
I don't know, but it was so funny because last night I was reading to the kids Bluey. If anybody doesn't know what Bluey is, it's an amazing.
Tracy probably does.
Anyone who has kids like knows Bluey. Anyway, we're reading this story, and one of the stories was like they're looking for this piano on a picnic or something, and then they're like, one of the dogs. They're like, oh, you're a space invader. Like, that's why people run away from you, because you're a space invader. And I feel like the head coach what is it? What's the head coach's name for Indiana? I can't think.
Sides?
Yeah, she's a space invader. Like,
space invader.
Like, you need to like boundaries. Teaspoon handled it well, but I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like 5 minutes later, and you guys are still like chatting.
See, I thought Teaspoon was keeping that embrace, because after they separated, Sides kind of did a weird look, like, what was that all about? Like, have you seen that? So kind of weird.
Yeah. Okay. It was a weird interaction from a coach's perspective. I mean, and you can see of it. Like, I was watching the Vegas, and Vegas feels like they're getting their most, like, when you think of the other games in the league that's happened since we chatted last night, there was a lot of great basketball.
Yeah.
Between the New York, God bless. They played yesterday and then they played today, back-to-back games. So they played in New York yesterday and then they played in Atlanta today, both wins. Same thing with the Mystics. They played back-to-back games. They got 2 back-to-back wins against Dallas.
I watched a little bit of their last game. Yeah, wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, but go Mystics. And then Vegas feels like they're getting, with Chelsea Gray coming back into the mix of it, they feel like they're getting a little bit of their mojo back and consistency, which is fun to see. And so I think I was just really entertained by a lot of the games that were happening. Minnesota is just kicking butt this season. And they're number 2. They're like, you have New York and then Minnesota. Minnesota doesn't get a lot of the press coverage they should, but because they're balling out this season. But it's just really good basketball right now, which is fun.
Speaking of, go ahead, Tracy.
No, I was just gonna say, kind of stepping back to the rivalry thing, part of me wishes that Reese and Clark would just embrace it and say, hell yeah, this is a rivalry, because that will just add more fuel to fans and the whole narrative and bring more eyes to this game. And, I think part of the reason that it's not so much between Clark and Reese is because they don't play the same position. So, it's one thing if Reese was a guard and she was having to guard Caitlin Clark, and now that's on another level, because that was how it was with Super Diana Taurasi. They both play the same position. Yeah. Seattle, Phoenix, UConn, all these storylines. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Donnie, just like we were talking, it's a rivalry. It is 100%. When Diamond DeShields went down and blocked Caitlin Clark and talked trash, everyone is gunning for her. And then Alyssa Smith is gunning for Reese, So it's like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are the 2 antagonists that both teams just want to pounce on. And so whether or not it's Caitlin versus Angel, but it's the team versus individuals of the other team.
But in the beginning, in the first time they played, it definitely felt like Chicago, like, we've embraced Angel Reese, we've got her back, et cetera, et cetera. Did not feel that way with Caitlin Clark. It was in this game, that team is now a family. We've been watching them. They've been going to events together. They went to the swimming trials. There was another event they went to. Yeah. And the whole team, they were playing physical before, but this definitely felt more like we are now, we're bonded, we're in it to win it. They seemed to be gelling better. We know they're playing better, but they wouldn't be playing better if they weren't sort of gelling as, a team on a personal level. Like, I feel like they probably have had some really good team building exercises going on.
No, you have to. I mean, that's so key with teams. Like, if you don't get along and you don't trust your teammate next to you and you don't really know them very well, like, that's a huge disadvantage, And just like New York, they put together the super team last year. They were so disjointed. Like, the first half of the season, everyone was like, what is wrong with them? They have all these superstars and they just aren't so great. Well, this year they're playing so much better because they know each other, they know their games and everything. And you can see it on the court. And Indiana is going to get to that point. But the one thing that I need to see from Caitlin Clark now, you're down 1 point. You should be getting that ball and taking the last shot. I'm sorry, but you've got to create it. You've got to get open somehow. You've got to demand the ball. You have to take that last shot, not Aaliyah Boston from 20 feet.
Yeah. You know who did that in their younger years and even kind of still does it? LeBron James. Yeah. LeBron James is always like, he's like, I always feel like I'm passing it, I'm facilitating, I'm trying to let them get in their groove, and they're like, no, you're the best basketball player in the world.
But at the end of the game,
yeah.
But I think they came out of the timeouts and the play wasn't drawn up for her.
No, it wasn't.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, like, and I will say some of the last minute, you saw them in that, like, the last minute shooting, like the choices that they made there is, great that Aaliyah made that basket and thanks for shooting that three. And you saw her frustration. She's like, why weren't you in your spot? So you could see that they were disjointed at the end on their responsibilities and what they need to do. In Chicago, they played great defense. They were scrappier and I think just from a level of wanting it more.
Do you think that
they just wanted it more?
After a game like this, is the Rookie of the Year conversation, are there going to be articles tomorrow saying that Angel Reese has pulled ahead of Caitlin Clark in the Rookie of the Year after a game like today?
I think this is her one. I think it's her breakout game. Now she starts stringing together, a bunch of games similar to this. But let's be real. Everyone was hyped up for this game on Chicago.
Sure,
definitely Angel Reese. Angel knew this was national televised. She knows the narrative around this game, so she was hyped for it. And absolutely. But until you can string together games like that, like Clark can shoot, but she can facilitate. Without her on the floor, they're not scoring 80 some points because she is setting up everybody. And sometimes I need to see her be more selfish. She passed up a lot of open threes and tried to find other people. And I'm just like, what are you doing?
And she still hit 5. Would she hit 5 for the game?
Yeah, she hit 4 or 5. I don't remember exactly, but she had 17 points, 13 assists. I mean, that's incredible.
That's like
she should have had more numbers. Yeah. She should have had more assists because people were dropping the basketball or not finishing layups. Like, oh my gosh, it was frustrating. So,
well, I think they announced today, I saw something with Sabrina Ionescu from the Liberty, where I think she had 25 points, 10 assists, and she has like the most, and that she broke the WNBA record for most points and assists, like double in the league. And like she's coming into her group, and she's somebody who's I think similar to Caitlin, came into the league and like expectations and kind of understanding her identity and her role. And I think she's it's been 3 or 4 years now, and I'm happy to see her kind of take on that leadership role. But Trace, I agree, like, be selfish, Caitlin. Like I get that it's like you got to be selfish, and she needs like her players or her coach to be like, give the ball to Caitlin.
Right.
It's like, make sure you set that screen, double screen, triple screen, whatever you need to do, get her the opportunity to make the shot.
Because shoot it. They were doing a couple really nice, like, kind of flare screens for her. She was coming off of like 2 screens, going to her left, which is where she loves to shoot. Yeah. Going off the left, going off 2 screens and wide open. And she nailed a couple of threes from there. But then there were a few more times where she was literally wide open. And you could tell she just was hesitant to shoot. Like, she didn't want to feel like she was doing too much shooting. And I was like, girl, look at your 3-point percentage. Like, you're shooting 50% in this game.
Was she?
Yeah.
50% from 3?
Well, she was at the time. I think, she might have finished around 50.
Yeah. I think I think we're all in agreement. Like, it's a rivalry. It's new. I hope, it's going to be good for the league. And you can see there's a lot of passion on both sides from the from the fans and from the players. And I think there were some interesting coaching choices by Indiana in the fourth quarter, like who was on the floor and who wasn't, and I'm sure they'll be reflective of that. But they play again in Chicago. So, and then where the stands are in the the top 8 teams go to the playoffs. And right now, Chicago and Indiana are on that bubble. They're the 8-9s, and now Chicago's at the 8 and Indiana's at the 9th place.
How's
and
that
so
possible? I thought that Indiana's percentage was higher.
No.
They have one more win, but they're 7-11, and then I think Chicago's 6-9, and so they're
the percentages
percentage-wise, yeah. And so if Indiana had won the game, or if they win the next one and they seal 3 out of the 4 games that they play, then depending on where things land, are they still going to be on that 8-9 bubble for the entire season? But that's one to watch, because it's sad. It's really the bottom 4 teams that don't get to, like, the majority of the league gets to go on to playoffs, except for the bottom 4. But I'll be curious. Washington's gaining some momentum, and they're feeling their groove, and I'll be curious to see if they might be, I think when they were like 0-10, they're like the most talented losing team in the league. And
absolutely.
The best 0-11 team.
Yeah,
Tracy,
I think out of all the bottom teams right now, between Dallas, Washington, and LA, I think Washington, the Mystics, have the opportunity to kind of be that dark horse.
Yes,
going into the rest of the season.
They just haven't been healthy. I mean, the last game, no Aaliyah Edwards, no Ruby Sykes, who's the other one? Shakira Austin. Like, you can't win games without those 3. And they beat Dallas. Now, Dallas is woeful. They're not that good. And they've had injury problems too. But once DC gets those big 3 consistently playing, watch out. I am pleasantly surprised by how well they play together. And I feel like the coaches have done a great job with them. The players, some of the pieces that they put on the team. Julie Van Loo, love that girl.
She's fun. She's fun to watch.
Yeah, she's fun to watch. And so, I think that they're going to make an impact toward the end of the year.
Yeah, kind of seeing the drama that's happening in Atlanta right now, and then LA, everyone's injury prone, and that's a challenge. Like, you have these, it's a sport, and people are going to get hurt, but I'm excited to see how DC, and they look like they're like, when you win, you're having more fun.
Right.
And so they're finally winning some games, and you can see in Indiana felt similarly, like they were winning some games. So you see them, a little bit more confident, a little bit more relaxed in their play, a little more free. And so I'll have to check to see what the rest, I mean, obviously they all play each other, but I don't necessarily know if they'll go deep into the playoffs, but I think they'll be competitive. Going into the playoffs.
For sure.
I do think that they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll get that. I think they'll be in one of those top 8 teams. No, Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs, especially if they're all healthy.
If they're all healthy, yeah.
They have
and how many games in the regular season? 40.
Yeah,
40 games.
40. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, you have the Olympic athletes, the 12 players who are going to be playing 16 more games. Roughly, during the Olympics, and then they're going to be coming back to finish the tail end of the W season after that, like, 3-week sprint in Paris, which is going to be exhausting.
Which team has the most players going to
Vegas.
The Olympics?
The Aces.
Yeah, their whole starting mug.
Then you have Stewie and Sabrina for New York. Yep. And I think those are the 2. I'll have to double check.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 main ones. And then you have 4 from Vegas. And it's going to be, everyone's else going to be rested and being able to recover. And, you have 2 from Phoenix with Diana and Brittany. And it's going to be. And then I felt like Cameron Brink going down. Like, we haven't talked about that. Like, the 3, because they were the 3v3 team. So I think Ren Howard also from Atlanta, I think she's hurt too. So I think 2 out of our 4 3v3 Olympic bound athletes are injured. And Cameron with the ACL, it just sucks. As her rookie season, it's a big bummer. She'll come back and she'll be great, but it's just a bummer for her for her rookie season. Yeah, that looked painful. It did not look. No, I did not.
I did not. I do not watch injuries. I cannot watch.
I hate the replay, but it was hard. It was hard to avoid in real time. If you were watching the game in real time, it was really obvious that she was hurt. But I appreciated seeing the love around the league. I think that was a really beautiful thing to see. Just the sending the love out to her and her recovery, and And I think that's where the league really shines. When it comes to the W in itself, it's 144 athletes, and it is an advocacy league. I was recalling, I was watching, I forget what the documentary is, but they were highlighting the bubble season that was during an election year. And, there's like the advocacy of the previous owner of the Atlanta team, and then that, who was running for Senate, and then them using their voice. And then, you had, you had George Floyd, and then them using their voice there on gun violence. And then the W is really, they've always been at the forefront of advocacy. And I think that that's one of their strengths, and among just being amazing athletes. But I don't know. Yeah. There aren't many other leagues, men or women, that are as intentional. They might not all agree on how they go about it, but just the intentionality of like, hey,
I would agree. Given the percentage of players that participate. Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how, and then I think over the last week you saw them doing that with gun violence. Like you saw a lot of orange shoes, or the warm ups, and like really focusing on that, especially after certain things passed. But I think that's one of the things I admire about the W. Is just they might not all get along. They're not all going to agree on everything, but they will all rally around each other if somebody gets hurt, and then also when it comes to advocacy and supporting women, they stand out that way.
Yeah, it's been a great week of WNBA basketball for sure.
I mean, I'm kind of happy that the W kind of usually takes a Monday off, because I am exhausted. Screaming at the TV, yelling at everybody,
texting me.
It's a lot. It's a lot of games. I mean, we're not even the athletes doing all this stuff.
I know. But we're so tired.
I know. Because we're invested in this league and these athletes,
totally,
and it's good, and it's like good sports. I mean, some of them were some blowout games. My nephew just wants to see the teams get to 100. We were watching the Liberty game, and he's like, they're at 90. Are they going to get to 100? He's like, there's 3 minutes left. They can do it. And he's like, a turnover. And then he's like, make your free throws. And my sister and I are looking at each other like, should we? Like, I'm assuming he's getting that from us, because you're like, make a layup or make your free throws. It's like the two.
Maybe some of the other parents at the at his
really
games.
Francesca. It's really me. I'd like to blame somebody else, but he's only watching basketball with us.
It's the game moms and aunties. Yeah.
And so, but it's fun to watch it in his perspective of, and they love Ellie the elephant. I mean, she had a whole like Beyonce halftime show. Like,
I saw that.
Renaissance. It's just like Ellie is like taking over the W League. She should be like the main mascot of the W. You don't know who Ellie the Elephant is? Please look her up. She's a New York Liberty mascot, and she is fierce, fabulous.
Please find out who actually is the
mascot.
We're the mascot.
Who's inside? There's bets. They're like,
I have my ideas, my thoughts. We'll get discussed.
But it was hilarious in the sense where like she had an entourage, because it's Pride. It was the Pride game, and so she had an entourage going into the fits, like they do all the fit swaps now. And so Ellie came in with her fit for Pride, and then she had a whole entourage of people, and then Sabrina Escu's like waiting to go after her.
Like
saying like, and so he pans to Sabrina, and she's just like, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, what do I do here? I'm waiting to go, but Ellie's doing her sachet Shantae, like go, and like I gotta go get into my jersey, Ellie. Like, let's go.
It's fun. It's just been incredibly entertaining. I mean, and again, for me, who just was not watching really much, unless I was with one of you two, I'm really enjoying myself. Like I'm hoping that a lot of people.
Happy to have you. I'm glad.
Yes, thank you. I am throwing names out there that I'm like, I just said that name. Is that the right one? And I'm waiting for Tracy, and Tracy's like, you got it.
Yes.
Who else kind of came into her own during the Chicago game today? Camila Cardoso, who was who didn't play the first game. I don't think she played the very first one. She played the second one in Indiana. But holy crap. Like, she was making layups that I was like, she's not going to make that. And she totally converted some really difficult shots. And she's going to be the X factor for them for sure. If they can get her and Reese
Yeah.
And like I said, Marina Mabrey has to step up. She had a really off game tonight. But if she can step up, and then Kennedy Carter, Kennedy Carter's legit. I mean, I'm not a huge
she took a
fan of
hard
hers,
fall
but she's
today.
legit.
Hopefully she's
and is
not,
she on the W for the All-Star? Is she even on the list for the WNBA All-Star?
I
just said that to you guys.
Sure.
Let me
Donnie's our data.
Let me take a look.
Well, we were texting earlier about how like just last year, like 2023 voting versus 2024, like percentage wise, it's awesome to see. Like the most they got, like the most votes. I think that if I think just that screenshot you sent on was like 30,000 people voted, and then this year we're already over 250 for the top player. So and there's still time for voting, and so if you haven't voted,
I voted like
W All-Star.
Yeah, I'll put it up. I'll put it up so that folks can see it once we put it online. But yeah, the averages were in the 30-some thousands, and now I think I just pulled it up.
Asia and Caitlin were over 215,000 each.
Which is
fantastic.
Wilson, last year 35.9, this year 217.7. Like, it's just it's amazing. It's amazing.
Watching her play this week, I mean, you could see the frustration, like when you would watch the pressers of Vegas being like, what is happening? This is the same team, like just about the same players from last season, and they're disjointed. There's a lot of stuff. I think that they just, and Becky was saying how they, like, since training camp, there's been something missing. And I think Asia broke down in a press conference post game, and did. That like the team has risen to that. Yeah. She's in beast mode. I mean, if she doesn't get MVP for this year, I mean, there are a lot of players who are having amazing seasons. What is it? Fisa, over in Minnesota, she's having she just had a baby. Like, isn't she just coming back from having like a baby like last season, or and
is it Katie Lou? She also had a baby, right?
She also had a baby, and this is her first season back.
Check me out, right?
Yeah, look at you. I'm so proud of you, Dawn.
Thank you.
But they're all like, and that's the thing, is like the top 5 players, like when you look at the stats, it's gonna be a tight race for MVP. If Asia keeps playing how she's playing, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, same. I would not have. That was not a name I really knew. I didn't know many names really, but I know it now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was so happy to see Chelsea Gray back. Yeah. I mean, the fact that I feel like the whole Vegas, like they're playing in Vegas, and she got a standing O, and I think everyone was just like crying to see her back on the court. Thank goodness she's here. She's such a presence, and I was like the anxious mom being like, please don't get hurt again. Like, are you okay? Are you ready? You have the Olympics in like 3 weeks, and but it was fun to see her, and just some of the wicked passes that she was doing. I'm like, there she is. There's Chelsea.
She's another one that's just fun to watch.
Yeah. Speaking of passing, the lazy passes is still happening, and it's not just happening kind of at the end of the game. It's. Are
we talking about Caitlin? Or just Indiana in general?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, there were definitely some on Indiana side, and then there were also some on Chicago. I mean, Angel definitely had 3 balls got stolen. Caitlin got one of them, and then I don't know who got the other 2, but just sort of, I don't know, not expecting it, sort of not, I don't know. Again, maybe they're tired. I mean, Caitlin played the whole game. She did not sit out. And I don't recall if Reese sat either. Maybe,
I think she
but
did.
not for long. If she did, it wasn't for long.
Issues, so I think she sat maybe for a little bit, but not long.
Yeah, but
I think that's I think Caitlin's IQ is really high, basketball IQ. I also think that she'll get better at it, but I think with the turnovers, I think it's a mix of team chemistry, and I also think that fatigue, and just sometimes bad, just like mistakes, they happen.
Donnie, I texted you. I was like, can somebody catch the damn ball? Like, there are at least 2 or 3 times where she up-courted the ball, and Kelsey Mitchell has like stone hands or something, because like she couldn't catch it. And even I think Lobo was like, Kelsey's having a hard time catching.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
she did.
Unreal.
I mean, and I when they showed it again, I was like, maybe there was a little extra mustard on that pass, but no, she probably should have had it. She probably just took her eye off it for that. She was going for the basket instead of catching the ball.
first.
What do we see? Wide receivers doing that all the
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
Speaking of football, 9 more weekends. We're going to be talking about it soon. I'm excited.
I know. Are we going to talk about how Aaron Rodgers is skipping all the camps on like some retreat somewhere other in the world that nobody knows where he is? Is there GPS in his shoe somewhere? So he's going to at least show up. Listen, I'm in the New York tri-state region. It is on the news all the time around, and I'm not holding my breath for the Jets to have when it comes to like a dysfunctional locker room and drama, the Jets are prime here in New York. Yeah.
I don't know, and me, I watch a lot of morning sports shows, sometimes to my own detriment, but I just do anyway. But they've talked about it a little. They talked more about football on Thursday or Friday than they had for a while, probably because the NBA finals were, they ended, and then
go Boston. Congratulations, Boston.
Congratulations, Boston. Exactly. So now that the NBA finals they're over, they've discussed post game and all that. So now it's going to be
Jason Tatum did he redeem himself? Like Drew Holiday got his 4-year extension.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason is part of the greats now. It's like they've handled their business and they did a great job.
They did.
Congrats to the youngest coach to ever win since, what is it? Russell? Who was it?
I don't remember. I think they were talking about it because I was when they were talking about it, I actually thought that Ty Lue had been one of the younger ones when he won with LeBron James in Cleveland. But I think it was someone else. I just don't remember who. But so now it's about off-season football, and they've been talking about the Commanders a lot. Because of their our New York quarterback, Tracy. Just come on now.
I know, Tracy.
Every year, all this hope and to the sun, and
the last 30 something years.
I don't even get
yes. And for those listening, we haven't really talked about this much, but the three of us are all Commanders fans from the Wayback Machine, and look, it was great to get new ownership midway through last year. It was exciting. Going into a new year with new ownership and a new coach. Look, we've had young new quarterbacks before who did well. I mean, RG3 before, his leg basically fell off during the playoffs. But I'm excited about Austin Eckler being our running back. I mean, he's a great pass catching running back, which will be great for a rookie. Rookies use their running backs a lot. They use their tight ends a lot. But a pass catcher like Eckler, he's going to be busy. And so. Yeah, we're all today. What's the guy's name on the Red Zone? I can't believe I can't think of his name. This is so bad. This is why women's podcasts get made fun of because I can't remember his name. Scott Hansen.
You've had too much underwear.
No, that is the problem. I blame the wine. Scott Hansen. He posted today. What 9 weekends until football. So that'll be exciting.
It is. I mean, Trevor Lawrence got now he's the richest quarterback.
I know.
What have you done? You and Joe. What have you guys done? Just throwing money.
What else is out there?
Hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know. I hear you, but it's just so ridiculous. Just the amount of money that these guys are getting, and that's a whole other topic of conversation about just the money that's just out there.
This is probably for another podcast, but I'm also super curious about Dak Prescott. He's going to be a free agent next year, right? After next year,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I think that after this year he'll be a free agent. So everyone's like, Jerry Jones is always like, he's gonna get paid, blah blah blah. But if I were Dak,
the head coach only has one more season, right? Like Jerry kept him.
He's gone.
He's gone after this season. Even if he gets to the NFC Championship game, he's still gonna be gone.
He had Aaron Rodgers and he won one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think he's gone. I think Dak Prescott should definitely test free agency, and I think he should leave the Cowboys. I don't think he'll be successful there. I think he needs a change of scenery. Where that may be, I have no idea, but he's a really good quarterback, and he should get paid. The fact that he's not already paid, I would be gone.
Pittsburgh's probably going to need one after a season with the quarterback. So.
Russell Wilson, Justin
or
Fields.
The Giants maybe. I mean, stay in the NFC East. The Giants are going to need a quarterback.
They do need a quarterback. Danny Dimes. I mean, he's still their guy, but they didn't draft him as their quarterback, did they? I don't think so.
No.
And they traded Saquon Barkley to the Eagles.
Oh my gosh.
Winning decisions, guys.
I love the NFL so much. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, But look, we're at
I've
almost.
got to do a hard out because
Mhm.
my
Yeah, I was
son
gonna
is
say.
crying as
I know
Yeah.
the baby.
during-
I was just gonna say
Mhm.
we're at almost 45 minutes. This has been a very fun conversation. How fun
Very
to do these right
spirited.
after a good game.
Yes.
Mhm.
I
Thank
know.
you for I'm glad we were able to do it right after the game because I needed to vent a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please,
All right.
please.
Yeah.
Yes. Glad we were all able to chat tonight. We will be
Me too.
talking soon. And thanks for coming on. And cheers, everyone. Have a good night.
Cheers.
Good to see
Cheers.
everybody.
Good
Stay hydrated,
And we'll
folks.
see you the next time. Right. All right. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.